Geronimo Stilton. The Amazing Voyage, Part 1. It all started just like this. It was a beautiful, sunny spring day. Well, to be exact, it was the very first day of spring. The sky in New Mouse City was crystal clear, and the smell of flowers filled the air. I sniffed the air and smiled. Spring had officially sprung. Don't you just love spring? I do. I listened to the birds chirping outside my window. Sunshine warmed my back, and the smell of cherry blossoms filled my office. I tried to do some work, but... Oh, how rude! I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Geronimo Stilton. I run the Rodents Gazette, the most famous newspaper on Mouse Island. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yes, I was having a little trouble concentrating due to the sun and the flowers and the birds and, well, you get the idea. Right then, the door to my office burst open. "Uncle!" a little mouse shrieked with delight. It was my dear nephew Benjamin. He gave me a hug. Can I have dinner at your house tonight?" he asked. "Great idea," I replied with a smile. "How about we have a pizza party with the whole family? We can celebrate the first day of spring." That night, the Stilton family gathered at my house. My sister Thea was there, my cousin Trap, Grandfather Shortpaws, Aunt Sweetfur. Even Petunia Prettypaws came with her brother Wolfgang. Too bad Petunia also brought her pesky niece, Bugsy Wugsy. I made sure Bugsy sat far away from me. My cousin Trap made all kinds of pizzas. Some with tomato sauce, some with pepperoni, some with mushrooms, and some with different types of cheese, and even some with ham and pineapple. I ate so many slices, I lost count. Chomp, 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 nom, 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 nom. My belly got rounder and rounder, but I couldn't stop. The pizza was so delicious. Finally, everyone finished eating and left. I ate one more slice. Then I waddled off to bed. And that night, I tossed and I turned. And 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 I tossed and I turned. I felt like I had swallowed a bowling ball. Why had I gobbled up all that pizza? Since I couldn't sleep, I decided to try reading. After all, there's nothing like a good book to take my mind off my problems. But without thinking, of course, I picked up a book about ghosts and haunted houses. It was so scary. Now, instead of getting sleepy, I was even more awake. At midnight, on the dot, I got up to make myself my 31st cup of chamomile tea. I had already had 30 cups before that. But my paws got all twisted up in the sheets. I tripped, and the pile of 30 cups that I had placed on the nightstand crashed to the ground, and they smashed into 1,000 pieces. As I tried to keep my balance, I cut my paw on a sharp shard. Ow! I ran to the bathroom to look for a bandage, but I slipped on a puddle of water, and then I hit my head on the edge of the sink. As I was fainting, I remembered that there was water on the floor because the toilet was leaking. I had forgotten to call the plumber. Oops. When I came to, I felt something wet licking my face. I gulped. Was it a ghost with a taste for mice? The room was pitch black. I couldn't see a thing. Then I realized I still had my eyes closed. When I opened them, the room was still dark, except for two enormous golden eyes peering down at me. Who's there? I stammered. A voice sang out, "Don't be afraid, you already know me. I come to you from the kingdom of fantasy." I gasped. I knew who it was. It was my old friend, the Dragon of the Rainbow, the faithful messenger of the Queen of the Fairies. I turned on the light and grinned. I knew the dragon well from my adventures in the kingdom of fantasy. Then I heard another familiar voice. Well, it was actually more of a croak. "Ribbit, Sir Knight," the voice called. A frog in a red jacket clung to the back of the dragon. It was Scribblehopper. We had met on my first trip to the kingdom of fantasy. He still thought I was a knight, no matter how much I tried to correct him. But why had he come looking for me? Why? Why? I found out soon enough. It seemed Blossom, the Queen of the Fairies, had been kidnapped. "The Queen of the Witches kidnapped her," Scribblehopper announced. Then he handed me a scroll. The scroll was written in the Fantasian alphabet. Lucky for me, I had learned the Fantasian alphabet on one of my adventures to the kingdom. "The gnomes are holding a big meeting and they need your help," Scribblehopper explained. "So come on, Sir Knight, lose the pajamas and shake a paw. The kingdom of fantasy is in great danger." As I got dressed, Scribblehopper read me a few bad poems he had written, sang 3 songs he had composed, and chatted on and on and on and on. Cheese niblets, I had completely forgotten how much that frog could croak. Okay, I finally squeaked. "I'm ready to go. Just please stop croaking for a minute. I can't hear myself think." Scribblehopper grinned. "No problemo, Sir Knight," he said. "But you can't really hear yourself think because..." And he chatted on and on and on as the Dragon of the Rainbow rose into the sky. Flapping his wings, the dragon took off to the kingdom of fantasy.